The public hearing for Bill 268 isn't until Friday, but it has already left some, like the Mayor's Council of Guam, along with the Governor's Office, voicing their concerns. And while others have chosen to criticize the measure introduced by Senator Michael Sinicolas, Vice Speaker B.J. Cruz says it's a start.
There is no perfect bill, there is no perfect plan, but it is a vehicle by which we can discuss what needs to be discussed and make a determination from that.
Bill 268 would approve the Government of Guam Competitive Wage Act of 2014, but would require a performance-based standard for GovGuam directors and deputy directors of line agencies, along with the Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Attorney General, and the Public Auditor. That, however, doesn't apply to senators, leaving their salaries as status quo. As for whether senators should be under the performance plan, Cruz believes every election voters decide whether senators are performing their duty.
So, that happens every 2 years for us. So, whether or not it's in the bill or anywhere else, the difference between 20,000 or 60 is done by the voters themselves, which is the most important performance factor that we have to address.
For Senator Chris Duenas, he agrees with the administration that this performance-based standard shouldn't be selective.
I would like to start by saying, Ken, that every public official, to include senators, should be ready to answer to the public and have their performance measured at any time.
The governor had suggested that senators be included in the proposed performance pay plan and even recommended amending the bill to delete the senatorial pay raise of December 2010 and provide that senators can get their pay raise back if they meet the requirements. Duenas says he has always been open to salary cuts.
Once again, in all fairness to all of the discussion, I think that where we are right now is there's been a proposal that's put forward that senators, and I led the charge on this on Friday as well, that senators, and it's widely known that we could follow the example of the governor and the lieutenant governor and simply not take this increase. I think to go back now, and I'm not saying I'd be opposed to it, I just don't want to get in a back and forth where it's you cut your salary, you cut your salary. I don't think that particularly is productive.
The administration, meanwhile, continues to raise concern over how some cabinet and elected officials will be affected by Bill 268.
We want to just try to make sense of what's happening in our government, and the reality is many of these things don't come up for a periodic review.
The administration further notes that the governor's revised HAY plan will correct some of the inequity that exists within the government itself, such as how autonomous agencies have been able to pay their employees competitive wages, whereas the line agency employees haven't, but are just as deserving.
So when they criticize elected officials like the mayors or many of our appointed directors who actually get paid less than their counterparts in some respects. For example, Joey Sinicolas, who's a fire chief who gets paid, far less than many of his battalion chiefs and captains, it really calls into question the organization.
In a release this morning, the governor's office noted that the fire chief has a salary of $74,000, well below the average of $90,000 that captains in the fire department make with their base salary, overtime, and other financial benefits and incentives. This is just one of several examples the administration has noted relative to disparity in pay and positions. Most of these concerns are expected to be discussed this Friday. For the Vice Speaker, he hopes to not only hear from more of the employees, but also that DOA will have more concrete details and the requested documents relative to this HAY plan.
We'll have a better understanding of how they plan on implementing this and whether or not it is affordable. And we'll be able to move forward on Friday with some kind of action, or if not Saturday then, because I think Saturday's the last day by which we need to get something out from this body.
Public Auditor Doris Flores Brooks, meanwhile, did not want to comment on Bill 268, only telling KUAM that the OPA is doing its own plans for the employees separate and apart from the HAY study. The Attorney General's office notes they would like to review the bill more before commenting. Sinahanya Mayor Robert Hoffman, meanwhile, says the Mayor's Council of Guam will be holding an executive council meeting Wednesday to discuss the issue further. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Ken Quintanilla.